Good. So let's get started with asking Ray about the Revive Network. What is the Revive Network? And just give us a little bit of background on what it is.
Yeah, well, the Revive Networks, the idea of it started like 4 years ago, I think, about 4 or 5, I don't remember exactly, 4 or 5 years ago. It was just a sort of, um, we were concerned about how the churches are doing in Romania. Most of the churches are losing people. Um, the outside influence is, the Western influence is stronger and stronger. So most of the churches in Romania were having a very challenging time. So I just invited several, tens of pastors that we know to Cluj, to our church, for a roundtable discussion, we called it. And we call it round table, not a conference type, but a round table type, just because we didn't want to teach them something or to tell them something or to do workshops for them. We just wanted to hear what they have to say, to be something that we learn from each other. So we invited them. We had about 60 pastors from all over the country that showed up. The first roundtable experience, as I said, about 60, 70 pastors showed up. And we spent 2 days just trying to analyze the situation of our own churches. We had three questions for them, and we put them around tables. We had some round tables and 10 people at each table. And I just dropped question by question and let them talk for about an hour or so at each question. So the first question was, how would you describe your church now? Uh, do a short portrait of your church as you know it, as you see it. Uh, so they just talk with each other at each table. They share ideas. This is my church. This is the way I see it. Then everybody from each table, somebody was collecting all the data and send it to us there in the room, and we projected it on the screen. So at the end of the about 2 hours, we had a sort of portrait of the churches in Romania, of at least those churches, 60, 70 churches. But there was a common trend. Everybody was having a sort of negative perspective on their church. So I said, okay, after a short break, we said, second question is, uh, what do you think are the causes for the way your church look like? So for another an hour, more than an hour, they talked with each other at each table. They sent all the discussion to us. We projected on the wall, on the screen. So we had from them a list of causes, at least uh, their perspective on the causes, their opinion about the causes. So we said, okay, so these are some of the causes that you see. Third question was, now, what do you think will be some solutions to um, deal with those causes? So again, sometime they talk, they send us some solutions, and we projected that on the screen. So that was the first meeting. Practically, we wanted to understand how the pastors see their own churches, and how the pastors see the situation of the churches in Romania. Uh, that was the beginning. The response was very unexpected. They said, "Well, it's the first time we are talking about what we are experiencing. Not somebody's coming to teach us how to do and what other things can be done." So the response was so good that together we decided to meet once a year and in this format, and also during the year to have some to address some of those solutions and see what we can do. So, a long story short is we formed a network and we call it Revive or revitalize, whatever. I don't know what would be the exact word. But we formed this network, and after a couple of months or so, we met with these pastors plus others that heard about the event in another city in Romania. I wrote down a vision, some objectives, some of the roles of the network. So we launched the network at that place. It was very well received, again, but there was only one problem with the network. When I explained them, look, this is a network. The network role is to catalyze our resources, to work together, to support each other, to partner with each other, to see each church what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses. Practically at that second meeting, we gave them a form with several questions. People had to fill that out to describe their own church in terms of strengths and weaknesses. So we had the portrait of each of the churches. We put each of those churches on the map. So practically now the network has now it has about 85 to 90 churches in the network. And you have information about each church. So I explained them, look, how we can work together as a network. Let's say your church has doesn't have a good children ministry. So you want some help from somebody. So you go on that website, on the network, and look for a church that has a strong children work. So there is contact form and all that. You can connect with them. You can connect with them and ask for help. This was just an example. Some other people, they need help with media, some other people with something else, and you look to a church and ask for help from a church that has some expertise in that field and is doing better than your church. So that was the idea. When I explained how the network works, some funny questions in my mind were funny. Was somebody said, okay, now who's the boss? Who's the head of the network? I said, well, it's a network. It doesn't have a head, somebody that is over all. Well, how can it work if it doesn't have somebody to tell us what to do? Well, it's not me or somebody else that is telling you what to do. It's a network. You are not. Each church is a independent knot in that network. We have to work with each other. We have to address with each other and so on. So it took me some time to explain them how a network works like. Anyway, in the end, they understood, and that was the beginning of the network. Since then, we had several events. We addressed some of those issues that they mentioned. We strengthened our cooperation. With ambassadors together, we offer them all those grants for missions that they have. So it worked very well for 4 years. And then 1 year ago, in 2023, in the fall, we had that regional, we had one of the network meetings. And the theme was the topic of it was about the emotional, I don't know how to translate that, the emotional status of a pastor, of a leader. And we took there some specialists, and the whole weekend was so full with good content that the pastor said, look, this is so good, and here we are only about 90 to 100 people, pastors and leaders. This topic, this material has to be shared with many more. So I took those 5 people that we are sort of brain behind the network, that we are just organizing the events. And talking with them, I said, look, this is what the people said. You heard them. Shall we try to do a larger conference this time where we can address all those issues together at the same time. So we said, let's try. So this year in February 2024, yes, in February, we launched the national conference for pastors and leaders, church leaders. To our surprise, we had there 940 something people that registered and came. We were like, what? It was shocking for us, a big shock, to see what was the response. We did this conference in Oradea. That's a city on the north west of Romania, at a church that has a big campus. I think it's the largest campus in for a Romanian church that they have. And we did a conference there. As I said, 900 plus people showed up, and again, the response, the feedback was so good. So we said, okay, we are doing also some regional conferences where people can come from a shorter distance and less costly. But once a year, we want to do this gathering of the whole of all the people who want to come. So next year in March, 2022 of March, we'll have the second. This conference is called Momentum. Okay, so the network name is Revive, and the network, let's say, it's organizing this conference. We call it Momentum. So next March, we will have the conference in Cluj. We are organizing it. Our church, with our resources, human resources, will organize it. It's pretty hard because we don't have the facilities. So we are renting a hotel, and practically is the only one in Cluj that has some big auditorium. And at least we need at least 9 or 10 workshops rooms, classrooms for workshops. So that's the only place in Cluj. So we made a contract, and March 2022 we will have Momentum 25, we call it, and we are in charge with organizing that. So we're excited to see how many people will come. I expect to be less. Practically, we have only 840 seats, maximum 840. And it will be more expensive than last year, because this year, we're still in 2024. I have to remember that. So this year, having the conference at the other church, practically the costs were much lower. Here, where we have to rent a hotel, the costs are going up. So I'm afraid that will be another barrier for some pastors to come, especially the ones from long distance. They have to travel from like 12 hours distance. Usually they come by car. There's no other way to come. So that's 1 day of traveling to Cluj, 1 day of traveling back, the cost of gas and so on. It might be that the cost of the conference is almost double. Cluj is the more expensive city than Oradea. Anyway, so there are some obstacles like this. Most of them are financial obstacles. But other than that, we are going on with the conference. We announced it. We sent the save the date, and right after New Year's Eve, in 5th of January, we will launch the registration. So we'll see how that works. How that will that go? But this is a short explanation of the Revive Network and Momentum conference.
Good, thank you. I also noticed that marriage and parenting are important parts of how the network is helping equip the local church. What does this look like, or how is marriage and parenting included in helping the local church?
Yeah, we have this workshop, call it Marriage by the Marriage Masterpiece, we call it. And this is a series of workshops that we do, like me and Ramona especially, but some other people too. We involve some other people too if we go to a place. Usually that works like very simple. If a church from the network or outside the network, it doesn't have to be only from the network. If they invite us for a weekend or for a marriage conference, we just go, and according to their time, and it's flexible. We adapt the structure of the workshop, which is practically several workshops possible to be done. So we travel in the country where we are invited, and we were invited to not only to Baptist churches but Pentecostal, Brethren, and so on. And the last event was in November, 15th of November, I think, or 17th of November, something like that, that weekend. In Arad, where it was a big conference organized by my friend. He has another church. This is an independent church. They have a nice campus. This practically in Romania there are two nice church campuses. The only two in the whole country. The one in Oradea and the one in Arad. So this friend of mine, he organized every year, is organizing a conference on a certain theme, and this year was family, for couples. So they invited us to go and speak there. So we've been there, and well, the response was again huge. They had in about a month, all the seats were occupied. So and they had close to 1,000 people there. So again, a huge response. So this is the marriage workshop. And then the parenting, this is something that is still on our work in progress. Like we have a workshop called Parenting by the Book that functions similar with the marriage workshop. The same, by invitation we go and do it. But we added an extra thing there. Dora, our colleague, she has a young boy, and being among all these groups of parents, she had the initiative, and we organized a parenting department at the church to start to work with the parents. And the new, let's say, the highlight of it is a series of podcasts. So she had all the vision and organized all the podcasts, which is something new for us. I mean, it's the very first time we do something like that. So right now, we work with the television, Credo TV station, a Christian TV station here in Cluj. So they offer us their studio. We do all the decoration. I can send you some links if you want to. You'll not understand, I guess, but at least you'll see how that looks like. And right now we have 54 or 56 podcasts. Every other week we put a new one. And this series are done with local people. All of them are people from our church. All the guest speakers. For now, the first year is only speakers, parents, people with experience from our church. They are the guests there.
It's called Marriage Masterpiece, did you say?
Marriage Masterpiece is the marriage workshop. This is the parenting ministry, Parenting by the Book, and these are podcasts. Practically, the podcast is called Parent Think. We used an English mixture of words. It's not parenting; it's Parent Think. That's the we brand it like this with this title, Parent Think. Yes, so practically this was lots of work. Several months we worked and recorded all the podcasts and do all the editing, and that is still ongoing. We want to start a new series maybe in the beginning of next year.
Right. Excellent. Good. I'm just going to keep hitting you with questions because you guys have been so busy with expanding ministries. One you started not too long ago was an intern program for pastors, and maybe you can tell us what brought that about. What problem did you see in Romania with new pastors, and what does the intern program do to help with that problem?
The interns, yes. Um, this is another was the result of some of our, let's say, frustrations. Frustration with what? Frustrations with how should I say that? Because I want to say it with all the respect possible. Look, I don't know how to use, so I'll explain, not say a word. I don't want to miss the mark. Usually when we apply for funds or projects in the States, foundations, people, churches, most of the time, the church, the foundation, whatever, they tell us, well, we don't want to support people, no salaries, no people, just project. Okay, that sounds good. There is need for resources for a project, and there is a budget and all the expenses that goes into the project. But I always find myself sometimes saying, sometimes thinking, okay, for a project to exist, to develop, to implement, we need people. If there is nobody behind it, the project is void, is not working. So this was a sort of frustration where it's easier to raise money for projects and very hard to raise support for people. So realizing that, we said, look, I think there are so many young people, graduates from Bible institutes. They are really motivated, enthusiastic. They want to do some work and want to find to get involved in the ministry. They were trained for that, and when they finish, graduate, they just hit the wall. Not enough churches. If there are churches that need pastors, they are so poor they cannot support a pastor. Some of the older pastors, senior pastors, they are afraid of the new ones because they take their place. So it's a complex of factors that these young people, the graduates, they cannot find a work in in a church. If there is an opening at a church, most of them, they want somebody with a little more experience. So practically all the graduates, they hit a wall and say, okay, now I've finished, nobody wants me. So most of them are becoming taxi drivers or Uber drivers. In fact, the situation is so bad in the last years. What I'm telling you now, it's not new. It's at least 15, 20 years old, the situation. And in all these years, in the last 10 years at least, or more than 10 years, practically the number of the students at the Bible or theological institutes is shrinking like crazy. Like now, you may find maybe not more than 5 or 6 that are graduating per year from one Bible college, for example. The Baptist Union has 2, and maybe they have about 10, 11 graduates per year. The Pentecostals, they have 1 official and 1 unofficial, not accredited, and they have about the same number. So the interest, the desire to be full-time in the ministry is just disappearing because of the hardship after you finish. That's one of the reasons, at least. Anyway, realizing that that's the problem, we tried hard to fund this internship program, where it's a simple I don't want to project. It's a simple idea behind it. When they finish school, we offer a grant for 1 year. It's a 1-year financial help for a graduate to go in a church and get some experience on the field, not from the classroom. So I am usually the main idea is we invite those graduates to go in some key churches where they have something to learn from. So in our church, we always have an intern. Every year we have at least one intern that stay with us. We take care of him. We send him in all the ministries to find his gifts, find his where his heart is in the ministry, and so on. So our church plus 2, 3 other churches, we try to say, look, can you take this person for 1 year? If the church has some potential, we say, okay, we pay half, you pay half for 1 year. It helps your church and your ministry. If it's a good person and you like it and fits the whole picture there in your church, maybe you want to keep him. If not, we have the responsibility to try to find a place for him at another church. So this is the first step or direction of the program. Another direction is let's say there is a church with no pastor and they really need or badly need a person to be there. So we pay his salary for 1 year. Again, it's a 1 year grant, 1 year help support. And the person goes there, the church offer him accommodation and some other help that they have. And for 1 year, he works in that church, and we offer as a church, via Church in Cluj, we offer all the support they need. When I mean support, is people, ideas, no, not money. We give the grant to that church, and the church is paying him. So this is the other possibility. Well, unfortunately, it's so hard to raise money for those interns, for training people. Right now, the maximum we could support was 3 people per year, 3 interns per year. Which, if we consider that there are about 11 who graduate, 3 out of 11 is almost 30% of the graduates. Percentage-wise, doesn't sound bad, but actual, it's very little. So this is the internship program. Practically, we want to give a 1 year help for a young graduate to find his way, his call, his place. Like in Cluj, in our church, we had, until now, we had several, 4 of them. All of them, they are running a church right now. So all of them, we didn't keep them for different reasons. We didn't need, we thought is not fitting our church ethos, and so on, different reasons. But after that year, we sent them, we recommended them to other churches in Romania. And right now, we have one in the southern part of Romania in Ploiești. We have one in, 2 of them are in Hațeg, 2 different churches in Hațeg. Another one is in Iași. So practically, we help them finding a church where to serve after the internship time.
Wow. That's great, because if they were heading towards becoming a taxi driver, and then by spending a year in a healthy church with that experience, that's incredible. So good. Thanks for sharing about the intern program. Probably by far the biggest program, and it started right with you in Romania as ambassadors together, and certainly everybody on this call has heard about that. But one thing I was going to ask you to do, because we had this conversation this summer, and I thought it was interesting, is a lot of times we tend to think as countries are the culture within a country is all the same. And you talked about how even within Romania, it's very different. And the reason I wanted you to share with this group about it is because one of the key areas in 4D is that we don't have a program called Ambassadors Together that we go to Rei and say, here, Rei, here's our program, make it work in Romania. And I think everybody will quickly see why that wouldn't work when Rei talks about how it's not one culture in Romania, and the way you described it. And if you could share with us it's really at least three cultures there. And maybe you could share that with us now.
Yes, yes. This was one of the main attractions for me to work with 4D since 35 years ago, or whenever, almost 30 something, 30 plus. That New Hope at that time, 4D Ministries now, did not push on us a certain program. This is a program, take it, publish it, use it, promote it in all the churches. I've seen so many programs like that. They survived for a short period of time until the resources from the states came, and then when that stopped, the program disappeared. So always 4D Ministry was focused on do your own programs according to the cultures and the needs you see there and the people. So yeah, if I need to talk about the three different cultures, practically three different cultures, there are three different regions of Romania that were kept apart for thousands of years. Practically, Romania is together as it is today as a country only since 1918, when the three kingdoms were united. We were speaking the same language since 106, 106, 105, 106, when the Romans conquered this land. There are three, Romania was kept separate, split in three kingdoms. One is Transylvania, the other one is Moldova, and the southern one, the eastern one, Moldova, the southern one is Wallachia.
And did you say 1918 or 1980?
1918, 1918. After the First World War, politically we succeeded to have all the three kingdoms together. So three kingdoms that spoke the same language over a millennia, 2 millennia almost, yeah. But we could not get united because of the politics around us. Romania was a sort of buffer zone between three big empires. Transylvania on the west-northwest was all those hundreds of years under the Hungarian and Austrian-Hungarian Empire influence. Moldova was under the Russian Tsarist, the Tsar Empire, and the southern part under the Turkish Empire. So all these three empires, they wanted to have this buffer zone in between them, and that was Romania. So they worked hard to keep us separate for all these years. We speak the same language. We have very many similar, let's say, traditions, but still the cultures are different. A long history short, there was an attempt to unite the three kingdoms in 1600 by a king called Michael the Great. He succeeded to raise up the Romanians, and he defeated the Hungarians, he defeated the Russians, he defeated the Turks, and he united the country in exactly 1600. But the country stayed united less than a year, because in 1601 he was assassinated, and the three empires, they split the country again. And until 1918 we were separate. Well, now we are together since then, 1918, but we still can feel the difference. Transylvania is more westernized, more, let's say, educated, civilized, if you want, more westernized. Moldova side, it has this strong Slavic influence, Russian influence, let's say. Even their accent is different. The same language, we understand each other, but immediately you can say, this guy is from Moldova, this guy is from the southern part, this guy is from Transylvania. Immediately you recognize from what part of Romania you are. So the Moldova, the eastern side of Romania, the Orthodox Church is very strong. So there, when you go to do mission trips with ambassadors or any time of evangelistic things, you are in danger. In some villages, we had problems when the Orthodox priest he raised up the people, and they came with the forks, the hay for hay, forks,
Pitchfork.
axes, whatever. They came to stop the event, to close the doors of the auditorium of the school where we rented, or they made pressure on the mayor to break the contract with us. And I mean, from violent to intimidation, verbal intimidation, they are over. So there, the approach has to be more careful, done in different ways. If we go and support or go doing missions in the southern part of Romania, they were a lot under the Turkish influence. So their Orthodox Church is there, but they are not so strong. Actually, let's say, occult and paganism is more present in the southern part of Romania. There are some strange rituals inside the Orthodox Church or in the villages, very strange things that are just make your goose skin. Some things are very, very strange what they do there. So there, again, you have to approach in a different way. In Transylvania, in a different way, more westernized things, more of the Western approach can apply, and we can do, and we have more freedom, let's say. People are not so religious, rigid as in the other two areas. So this is the situation. That's why what we do, we don't have a big team. We are 3 people, let's say, practically 3 staff. So we mostly coordinate and work with teams from churches. That's why Ambassadors Together is the goal of it is to help local churches to be missional, to have a local church from Transylvania, usually from Transylvania, because here churches are more stronger, evangelical churches are more stronger, more settled. They have more years behind them, more experience. So very many Transylvanian churches are sending teams in the south and in the east. But now already in the east and south of Romania, there are some churches that took some wind in their what's the word?
Sales.
Sales.
Yeah.
And they started to grow. So we support those churches to do missions. We send some mission. Churches in Transylvania, not for the, but we have we Romanians. We have missioners that live in the southern part and in the eastern part, and they planted some churches there. So things are moving, and the support we offer through Ambassadors Together is really helpful, and they are asking for it year by year. So we are helping them as we can. We send people there, send teams. With Mark and Cheryl, we've been there in the south. Well, actually, there are 3, let's say, cultures, but I can say even 4, because we have a large, significant, let's say, Gypsy community in Romania, and that's a totally different culture. And in the south, this summer, Mark and Sherry, they saw some of the Gypsy communities and how what our people are doing some work there. Because Sandel, the guy they met there, he is from that community, and he has a heart for them, and he's doing a great job there. Actually, he was one of the interns this year that we supported, because he really needed the support, and we wanted to just give him all the freedom to do the work. And by the way, he's coming next Sunday, not tomorrow, but next Sunday, he's coming to our church to share with us his testimony and his work there, because we want, as a church, to raise some funds to help with the girls that are going out of their foster care program. Usually they go to Bucharest to find a job, and when they go there, trafficking and some other bad things are a big temptation for them. So he's setting up a program where he wants to protect them. So we want to raise some funds to find some rent some places where the girls can stay and have a place to stay, not to be forced to go and stay with guys that are paying them and all that. So it's very encouraging to see what Sandu Sandel, this guy, is doing. And I just gave this example to you just to see how our churches are trying to help. This is via church example, but there are other churches who take these kind of programs and say, okay, we'll help with this and that. Practically, it's nothing new for you. I mean, you in America, you do these kind of things for hundreds of years, I guess. But for us, it's for Romania, it's a pioneering type of work, and it's encouraging to see that we can follow, let's say, in your steps. We're following your experience during all these years. So, yeah.
Couple questions, Ray. What percentage of Romania would be evangelistically Christian, do you think?
I would say maximum 5%.
5%. Okay.
Yeah.
And then another thought that hit me is often challenges become new opportunities. So these graduating students who become taxi drivers, what if that became an evangelistic program to send evangelists out into the community as taxi drivers?
You mean instead of them becoming taxi drivers, to send them as missionaries somewhere?
No,
No.
the occupation of taxi driver in America. In America, we used to have street preachers. People would get out of Bible school and they just become street evangelists. So when you have someone in your taxi, you have them undistracted for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm sure some of them, they do that. They are discouraged in their, let's say, vocation. They cannot find a church, but they remain Christians, and they need something to live from, so they do this work. But they still attend the church. They go and maybe they are volunteering in a church. So I'm pretty sure they are engaging in this kind of discussions with the people in their Uber car or taxi.
In Bangladesh, where I serve, Christians who are, they have these three-wheeled bicycles that they have people, rickshaw kind of things. So the Christians will evangelize their fares. And it's quite wonderful because they're quite at risk because it's a 95% Muslim country. So,
yeah. Well, this is something it's an individual decision, and if they have this kind of calling then to share the gospel, to be that kind of missionaries, I'm sure they are using that.
Good. I'm going to mention two things, and then maybe we could open it up to some more questions. Ray mentioned Sandel, and Sherry and I, as Ray was saying, got to visit. We drove down with Ray and Ramona down to southern Romania and got to visit Sandel, hear his testimony, and see his ministry. If you go to our website, and right on the front page, there's a little side piece with Sandel's story. If you want to read more about that. Also, kind of a longer video of Ray talking about these three regions of Romania and how they're culturally different. There's a video on our website. If you go to countries and just select Romania, you'll see that video. So I wanted to give that little plug out. But we do have the opportunity and some time here for some more questions. Did anything trigger in your mind now that we have Ray here on the phone? Go ahead and shout out your question.
Yeah, I like to. Romania has been very, very much in the world news with all the election issues. How much does the political situation impact your ministry?
For now, we don't see any impact. We still go on and do what we have to do. I guess you are mentioning that because what happened to our elections last 2 weeks ago. Yeah, Well, the elections were canceled, which is debatable if it's legal or not, but we are all happy that they were canceled. The guy who was close to win, he's a fellow Russian a guy, pro-Russian. He was supported by the Russians the way they did the election campaign. There are struggles in the country, like there are different groups, some real groups, some are TikTok and Russians behind. Right today I was reading about on Facebook a campaign located in London that is sending messages all over the country for the people to raise up and attack and burn buildings and attack this and that, and a sort of there is a strong campaign of extremism. It's so hard to say what will happen. For now, we are okay. We can do what ministry is going on. Nobody stops us. We are fine for now. We'll see how things will develop. The shocking thing for me was what will be the word? The ambivalence of the Christians. I was shocked to see that even now that too many from our churches are campaigning for the right extremist, this guy with Russia. It's true. The other extreme is a sort of left extreme, a sort of very, very progressive. And I hear our people saying and shouting that the lady who was two of them, a lady and a guy, they were running for the second tour to be elected as presidents. The lady, our people from the churches were saying, "Oh, LGBTQ, abortion, and all that is very bad, and we don't vote for her." And others were like, "Well, Russians, you forgot what they did to us, communism, dictatorship, and all that." So, at least now there is still delicate vibe in our churches, because the churches are split. We are trying. In our church, we worked in the last 2 weeks with people and trying to bring harmony. In our church is not bad. I think most of the people are having their heads on their shoulders. But I hear that in other places the situation is more complicated. So a long answer for saying I don't know. For now, we are not affected, but it is possible that things will change dramatically according to what will be the next political steps. If the country will raise up now that the legionar, I don't know, that's a Romanian term. Between the two world wars, there was a movement, a sort of fascist movement with a specific name in Romania, and they took the power in Romania. And as you probably know, Romania, for the first 3 years of war, we were with the Germans against the Allies. So this kind of movement that is illegal now, and was illegal during the communist times, and even now it's illegal. They started to raise their heads again, and they tried to have a revolt in Bucharest last Sunday. Police and secret police stopped them on the road, and they found people in the cars with guns, with all sorts of things. They were driving to Bucharest for that thing. They succeeded to stop it. So I don't know if this group of people will succeed to turn the country upside down, then it will be a bit complicated. But I'm optimistic. I don't think they will succeed. I think still the majority of the people, they don't want with Russia. And I think for us is not an option. NATO is in Romania. We have some American bases, military bases, and European bases, and Romania is critically important for NATO. So I think we will be not let down again this time. So even if that group of people will try to turn the country upside down, I think they will not succeed because we are not alone, and Europe is very interested in having calmness in Romania. But you never know. But I'm optimistic.
Ray, I wondered, Ray, did you can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hank wrote a book a while ago about communists,
Mm-hmm.
and
Beyond the Wall. Yes.
It was a danger to push the gospel in that area. Is that that's not still the case, or?
No, it's not. That's all times. For 34 years now, total freedom.
Oh,
I think we have more freedom than you do to share the gospel in Romania. In schools and everywhere, there is no limits, no obstacles.
Okay.
So is the Bible very prevalent? Do you have copies of the Bible, many copies?
Oh yes. Everybody has a copy. You can find Bibles everywhere to buy if you want. Yes, Bibles.
People read them, or do they just put them on the shelf?
Well, I think everybody has a Bible, at least one Bible in the home. How many are reading it? I think not very many, because according to the last census in Romania, there are about 70-something percent of the country are Orthodox. And out of those 73%, I think most of them are not reading the Bible. Some do, but most of them are not reading the Bible, because that's also the teaching in their churches. Not in all the churches, but in most of the Orthodox churches, the priests say, don't read the Bible, that's for us, we know how to interpret it, it's complicated, you just listen to us, and that's the teaching. So people say, yeah, fine, I have a Bible. Maybe they try to read it, but really complicated. I don't. So that evangelical population, yes, they read the Bible, of course, and we teach the Bible, and we go in school sometimes with different programs, and yeah.
That's interesting you say that, because when I was raised a Catholic when I was a kid, and that's what we were taught. Oh, don't read the Bible. The priest knows what's in the Bible. But as I got older, I started opening the Bible and read it for myself, and that's how I learned. So it's interesting because you talk about the culture. So the culture in the church needs to change and have people read the Bible.
Yeah.
Good. We are right at our end time, but maybe Ray, if you could just share with us some prayer requests that we can keep you guys in prayer.
Well, a good prayer request would be the situation, the political situation in Romania, which if it's not going well, it can affect the ministry. Just having all the resources to do our ministry plan, to fulfill the ministry plan. I think it's a great plan. We see results, and we want to go on with it. So yeah, these are two very practical prayer requests.
Very good.
And I'm saying that the second one, the support, that practically is praying for support to come, to have it for the next year. Is also because for us, our team, it's harder and harder to find new churches or to open new doors. Practically, the experience is we are losing. Every year we are losing some churches, and somehow the interest for Europe, for Romania, for Europe is going down, I guess. We at this moment we have, I think, only 3 churches that are still supporting the ministry. One of them cut off some of the largest supporter cut 25% of the support this year. So practically, this is something that I know it's a sign for us. It's not a sign, but we are trying hard to find new locations, new places, new churches to partner with, and this is harder and harder. Practically, we didn't find any in the last 10 years. We don't have a new one in the last 10 years. Yes. So, reason for prayer.
Absolutely. Good. And thank you all for participating today and just learning about what's happening. Your interest and desire to learn is incredible, and we appreciate that. Obviously, we're going to continue supporting Rei in every way we can. One additional way that I just ask you to consider is, you all have your own networks of people in your lives, friends, family, and when people contribute to ministries like 4D, it's usually because they know somebody who's already connected to it. It's very difficult for us to just talk to somebody who's never heard of 4D, but a lot of times someone who already supports 4D and participates and learns about what's happening in the ministry, you're the best voice that we have. So just something to pray about and think about is getting the word out and just sharing with people how you have benefited by supporting 4D and how it's been a blessing to you. And if there's any way we can help you do that, we certainly will do that, because we certainly want to grow our support here so that Rei doesn't have to be concerned about where's his next bit of support coming from, so they can continue to do what they're doing. So thank you very much for participating. I hope and pray that everybody has a blessed Christmas, and just stay tuned to your emails. We've got more Zooms coming up next year, and we look forward to everyone participating.